Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village. The award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007. Find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com. Ike Eisenhower State Farm. Ike and his award-winning team have been serving the insurance needs of folks all around Hot Springs Village since 1998. Ike has qualified for State Farm's President's Club, Chairman's Circle, and Hot Springs Village Insurance Agent of the Year. Call Ike Eisenhower State Farm today at 501-984-4100. That's 501-984-4100. Find them online at ikeeisenhower.net. Call them today for all your insurance needs because, like a good neighbor, Ike Eisenhower State Farm is there.
And the Zoomie goes to Ike Eisenhower for zooming from the furthest distance. Hey, Ike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. How are you, Dennis?
I'm doing great, man. And we are recording. Thank you so much for joining us from where today?
Munich.
Munich.
We are in Germany.
And you don't mean Munich, Arkansas. You're talking Munich, Germany, right?
No, we are in Germany. So we had our big State Farm incentive trip that we try to win every year. This year it's in Munich. So I'm here in Munich with a whole bunch of other State Farm agents from our South Central zone.
From South Central, really? All coming to Munich, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of us here.
Well, what brings us here today, and thanks for interrupting your vacation, your destination, at least as it were. Last night, we had another fire in the THA courts. This is a tragedy, but I mean, you hear this all the time, don't you? I mean, people call with this kind of problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not often you get a house fire or a townhouse fire, but it's always a big deal when it happens. I've not heard of it until you just told me about it. I don't even know which court it's in. So,
well, it's in Valina and it's Parolina Lane. I'll leave it at that. But it's in the Valina, and one of the things that comes to my mind is that the ones that have had these issues we've had 3 in 2 years and 2 in the last 6 months, and the bottom line is that they have 50-year-old wiring, right?
They're very old, right? And yeah, I mean, those go back to the 1970s, and I mean, I know of at least 3 fires that have happened in those townhouses since I've been here, and I mean, total losses. And I'm not sure about last night, but the other 2 were total losses. And yeah, it's always tragic when something like that hits.
Well, tell us the best way. I mean, Diane and I were riding back from a movie last night we went to see, and we were just kind of playing it in our head, like, what would we do? And one of the first things was, I thought, do I need to have an electrical inspector? Because are they not mostly all electric? Because we don't have natural gas, right?
That's right. That's right. Everything in the village, for the most part, is all electric. So yeah, I mean, wiring fires on old wiring is I mean, that is a risk that as your house gets older, it's more susceptible to fires like that.
Would it be worth my time to get an electrician to come out and just give me a clean bill of health or whatever?
Yes, that's not a bad idea. We also, if you're a State Farm customer, we do have a relationship with a company called Ting. they have these Wi-Fi monitors that
Hmm.
you just plug into an electrical outlet, and it monitors the wiring in your house.
Really?
And it will send you a report if if there's a brownout or a blackout or something like that. It can actually detect potential electrical fire losses. And I think it's like 2 or 3 years of coverage for free through Ting for that. And yeah, I mean, I get those reports every week. Every Monday, I'll get a report from Ting saying, there were zero outages, zero brownouts or blackouts or anything like that. But it does detect if there's wiring problems.
And you're saying Ting, Ting?
Ting, yes. There's a Ting app, so you have to have Wi-Fi in the house for it to report,
Yeah.
and you should have you should be able to download the app and all that kind of stuff. But if you're capable of doing that, yeah, Ting can help uh, detect problems before they happen.
I'm calling Joy as soon as we hang up.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
said, barring some disaster, and let me go back to that real quick. I know that I'm sitting in a 50-year-old house roughly also, and that it
Mhm.
has probably 100 amp service, right? Well, if I go through and count the breakers and count the number of things that have been added in the last 50 years before I got here, it's
Mhm.
well over 100 amps. It's probably well over 250. It may be 300 amps, but we just don't run
Right.
them all together. So that's why I
Right.
was thinking maybe having an electrician come and go, let's look at your service box or whatever.
It's not a bad idea, right? And most of the breaker boxes, I think you'll find are usually 150 or more, but these days 200 is pretty standard for a new breaker box. So yeah, you need to make sure the amperage on those breakers is adequate for sure. An
Well,
electrician can definitely tell you that.
thank you. And the people, like we had a quad burnout not too long ago, and the one last night was just a duplex. But when
Hmm.
you and I know they have firewalls between them, and that keeps it from rushing over. But of course, the smoke damage gets in the next unit. And what's the way to protect yourself? I mean, I know Diane and I are playing this hit through in our heads and going, okay, well, if something happened, we have loss of income because of rental. We have,
Hmm.
we're going to be having to live somewhere else for us. What's the insurance angle on this? What's the best way to do this?
Yeah. So the insurance angle is well, first of all, before I launch into that, they a true firewall between townhouse units would have it would have a wall that goes up through the roof
Mm-hmm.
and up a few feet, and the attics would not be adjoined, and so it would keep the fire from spreading through the attic.
Oh,
And so most of the townhouses in the village don't have that, so the fire can creep across that attic space and go from one unit to another that way.
very
So I mean that's
quickly. Yeah.
yeah, very quickly. So yeah, that is a concern. The insurance angle is, first of all, there's two ways you can cover that. The first one is just to have adequate coverage on your dwelling itself. So coverage is new home construction these days is going for $200 a square foot, give or take a little bit,
Right.
depending on the quality of what you're building. And but $200 per square foot is if you have that for your square footage. Then keep in mind, a lot of these townhouses they're multi-levels, so downstairs square footage may not be as much to replace as the upstairs square footage because you're not adding to the roof line. But so maybe figure on that other level 60% of that, so maybe $120 on the downstairs and 200 on the main level, or depending on how your townhouse is configured. So that's a good rule of thumb right now, is to make sure you have enough coverage on your house. The other thing is, let's say you're responsible for one of these fires. Let's say it's not just an electrical fire, but it's something that you did that caused the fire and it spread to the other units. In a situation like that, then you need to have good liability limits. And if you burn a fourplex down, then you're looking at $1 million of coverage or something like that. Should be able to protect you fairly well for something like along those lines. So I recommend having not only the liability policy in your homeowners, but also an umbrella policy, a liability umbrella policy, just in case it becomes a legal issue where they figure that you're responsible for that fire happening, and gives you that extra protection.
Now, you say an umbrella policy, and I know that we've had this discussion before. I initially think umbrella policy. Okay, that's $1,000 more a year. No, it's like what? How much is an umbrella policy for $1 million?
Yeah, for a couple with a home and 2 cars, it's $200 a year.
A year.
And for us, at least, you get a discount on the cars for having the umbrella policy on that. That will alleviate that cost a little bit. So yeah, you can save quite a bit on your cars just for having the umbrella policy in addition to the homeowner's policy.
Now, I'm not trying to scare us, but the word liability comes into play here. But if one of these burned and it was my responsibility,
right?
I mean, what's my limit of responsibility? Is it infinite? What happens?
It's whatever the courts deem you to be responsible for. So you're talking not only the damage to the other places, but you've got personal property in there. So you might be responsible for that. And in a situation like you were talking about, if you lose the ability to rent it out, you might have loss of rents, or you might have the loss of use for a period of time. So somebody's out of their house for a while and they have to rent another place. So, I mean, all those things can be considered part of the liability claim. And then on top of that, lawyers might go for pain and suffering coverages or something along those lines.
Oh my goodness.
I lost something that's really valuable to me and I'll never get it back. And something that's irreplaceable. And so there might be a pain and suffering cost that gets included in that too.
So you said adequate coverage. Let's cover that. I know that's a huge question. And once again, thanks. What time is it in Munich? Just a quick.
It's coming up on 6:00 p.m. So it's about just before lunch back home.
Yeah, I'm about to say you're more than gracious. I really appreciate you doing this. Thanks so much. But what is adequate coverage? And I'm really not being silly here. I mean, replacement cost is $200 a foot ish. I mean, how do you?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my point is, through media and everything else, we see hundreds, dozens at least, of ways to get discount insurance. I fear one day I may get what I pay for, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. It's always good to stay current on your coverages, meet with your agent every year or two, just make sure things are up to date. And, we've got, in my office, we have now 11 employees that I have all licensed, and any one of them can go over the homeowner's coverage for you and just make sure you have enough coverage. And it's a good thing to do that every once in a while.
And for what it's worth, that's 501-984-4100. Not like I know that number off the top of my head, but that's 501-984-4100. And Joy or any of the people there are happy to talk with you. I guess in my mind, the things that have happened, because I'm the THA president and I see this, and my fear is, man, my goodness, I feel for these people. I hurt for them.
Absolutely.
But what, and I know this is an everyday occurrence to you. Well, this is a very new occurrence to me. I say every day. It's not an unusual occurrence. But I see the townhouses, the home I'm sitting in, any of our homes, because of COVID and the changes, have increased in value dramatically. Did my insurance catch up with that, or that's where I need to just have a checkup?
That's a good question. We when COVID hit and construction costs just zoomed because of the shortage of construction materials, there was one point in 2021 where year over year construction cost increases to the coverage increase on the homeowner's policy because of construction costs. At one point, it was about 19%. I mean, it was crazy. And I've been doing homeowners insurance, but even before I was an agent, I was a homeowner's underwriter. Never seen anything even close to that. It was crazy. Right now, I just checked last week, and just to see what it looked like year over year. A year over year increase right now is only about 1%. So the market has cooled down quite a bit. But it is good to stay on top of that. Your homeowner's policy does go up with that. So So you will see year after year that your coverage amount will increase a little bit.
So my homeowners going up is not a function of, oh, that corporation's just a little more greedy. It's actually giving me more insurance every time, right?
Right. The calculator that we use to determine your estimated replacement cost, which is what determines your coverage amount on the house, the calculator we use uses the exact same data that our claims adjusters use to handle claims. So let's say roofing materials go up quite a bit, and cost of contractors goes up quite a bit, and that reflects in the roofing materials where we have to pay more for roofing. Well, that component will also factor into the estimated replacement cost of the house. And so it's the same data set. So we do try to keep it based on real numbers in our local area.
Yeah. And well, with the THA, the Town Homeowners Association, hsvtha.com, for those that are interested in that, we had a reserve study done in 2011 of all the assets in all 16 courts. And at that time, and this was a very thorough report, and I was thoroughly impressed. This asset's going to last this long. These were smart people doing what they do and doing it well. And at that point, in 2011, they estimated over the next 30 years that inflation would be 2.6% on average. That didn't see a pandemic coming there, did they? No. Didn't plan that in.
No, it's hard to nobody has the crystal ball to figure out exactly what it's going to be in the future. But 2.6, that is historically fairly accurate, and even coming into the recent inflation we've had, you'll have highs and lows. This is definitely on the high side, but we were on the low side of that for quite a few years too. So it's probably still a fairly valid average number at this point, but those things get adjusted all the time.
Yeah, over the long term. Yeah. And I can see in my mind, 2.6 versus 8. Well, I think the UK last month had 9 in May, 9%. And once again, as you said, that's year over year. That's from the May before that, the year before. It can get very expensive very quick. I can't tell you thank you enough. And once again, you do win the award. We haven't had anybody more outside Hot Springs Village outside than you today.
Yeah, well, I'll be back next week, but yeah, it's a great adventure being over here in Deutschland.
Now I'm thinking Eisenhower. That's Spanish, no. Italian,
it's funny.
no.
People over here know how to spell my name and pronounce it, so I don't have problems with that. Nobody has tried to spell it with an I, or they don't spell it HOWER like the president did. They spell it HAUER because they know how it's supposed to be spelled. So,
well, they know how it's supposed to be spelled, but if I'm not mistaken, and I've never been there now, but as I understand it, their street signs are like this long, right? Because it's got every letter all spelled out, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and seems like everything over here is a compound word. It's like around here, one of the next subway stop down is Richard Strauss, and it's like all one word. It's like, and so anyway, it's very interesting. I spent the last 6 months learning German on Duolingo so I could understand some expressions and read the signs and everything, and it's actually come in very handy.
Really, it really helped.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, Diane and I just got back from Greece, and I noted that at the Acropolis, at the Temple of Dionysus, everything, it had English and Greek. And I understood the term, it's Greek to me, because in Spanish, I could kind of reverse engineer a word or here, or even in German, I could kind of Greek, no bearing.
When language is different and the letters are different, makes a big difference,
A very big difference, I can't tell you thank you enough. Let's recap here real quick. Number one, make sure you have adequate insurance. Not bad. And Ting, T-I-N-G, is the product that State Farm offers?
Yes, it's a plug-in product, and it connects through your Wi-Fi and reports to you. So yeah, absolutely.
I literally will have one of those later this week. Man, that is awesome. Or we'll sign up for one later this week.
Yeah, we can get one ordered for you for sure.
I would love that. And then just basically make sure, and in my mind, I can't help but think about the people that have signed up for discount insurance and they've done everything they can to keep that insurance premium as low as possible, that may have saved them $300 a year, but may cost them $250,000.
Right. Yeah. Make sure you have not only enough coverage on your house, but enough coverage on your liability. It's the most important coverage you carry. That's the one that protects you against a big lawsuit.
Well, it's what you said, I'll just call out, and these people have not had a fire. I know because I had a friend that was asking me, we had a gentleman call and say, hey, I've got a townhouse in DeSoto and I've got some black mold issues and I want to have a guy come and treat it. And he wants to crawl across 3 other units in the attic to get to that. And I thought, how are you going to crawl across 3 other units if there's a firewall? There's not a firewall that goes up that high, right?
You would see it projecting through the roof if there were a true firewall. Yes.
It would come out of the roof line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes above the roof line. Mm-hmm.
As always, Ike, it has been extremely informative. We're going to roll this out as soon as possible. Ike, thanks for joining us. Tell Sonia I owe her something, at least some of her time, for taking you away on a vacation. Okay?
Oh, absolutely. She's over here taking a little nap before we go out to dinner. We're still dealing with little jet lag here. But it was a pleasure, Dennis.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Ike. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks for watching and listening to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast starring Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com.